All right, welcome back. We are in Algebra 1 on Khan Academy, and we're looking at quadratics, multiplying and factoring. That's the unit. And we're on a skill called factor quadratics by grouping. Now, I personally find factoring by grouping a little bit confusing at first, so I'll probably do a couple videos on it, but here's our first one. So let's just, I have my work already over there, and you're welcome to look at it. Pause the video and just think about it yourself. I'll come back to it in a moment, but first let's look at what's going on over here. I've got 6x squared minus 13x plus 6, and they want me to factor that completely, meaning they want a binomial times a binomial. So they want this expression to equal some binomial times another binomial. Okay, well, the first thing you would do, like any time you are faced with a problem like this, is look, is there any greatest common factor? Can you factor out anything? Well, our constants are 6, 13, and 6. Well, 13 isn't divisible by 2, and it's not divisible by 3, so I can't pull a common factor out of those numbers, and the x term appears in, or the variable x appears in 2 of the terms, but not in the constant 6. So I can't factor any greatest common factors out of this one. So then I have a couple choices. I can either factor by grouping, or I can factor the way I like to think about it. I will say that factoring by grouping is more efficient once you're good at it than the other method. But for problems that are this simple, that have this small of numbers, it's not too bad to do it this way. So you could say, I'm going to have to get 6x squared by multiplying some term times another. So I definitely have to have x times x to get x squared. Then my other option here, I have two options. I can either do 1 times 6, or I can do 2 times 3. So I'm going to write that here. I can say 2x for my first term, 3x for my second term. Or I can do x for my first term and 6x for my second term. Now, there's only going to be one solution to this probably, so I don't know which one, but I'm setting it up so I can do a little guess and check method informed by some rational thinking. So our second part of each binomial is also going to be factors of 6. It just is coincidental in this case that both of those constants are 6. But again, I have the option of a 1 and a 6, or a 2 and a 3. And I need to think about my sign. I'm going to get a positive number. So multiplying a constant times a constant and getting a positive, that means they're either both positive or they're both negative. They have to both be negative because my middle term is negative. So I know I'm going to subtract. So no matter what my numbers are, it's going to be subtraction, which is nice. It makes my life easier. I don't have to think about which one's positive, which one's negative. Now, in each of these, I can put a 1 and a 6, like this, and think about, will I get negative 13 out? Well, this is negative 3x's minus 6 times 2 is 12. Negative 12 and negative 3 is negative 15. That's too big, so it's not that way. I could put 6 and 1. That'd be negative 18 minus 2 is negative 20. That's not okay. So those are my options there with 6 and 1. We can try 1 and 6 here. Negative 6 minus 6 is negative 12. It's close, but it's not right. 6 times 6 is 36, so negative 36x minus 6x, that's way too far to the left on the number line. That's not okay. So it's not 1 and 6. Oh, sorry, 6, 1. So negative 36 minus 1x is negative 37. Again, it's not negative 13, so that's not okay. So we know it's not going to be a 6 and a 1 for our second constant term in each binomial. So, okay, so next we're going to try 2's and 3's. We could put a 2 here and a 3 here. Negative 6x minus another 6x is negative 12x. That's not okay. We could put a 3 and a 2. Negative 9x minus 4x is negative 13x. So this is the one right here. I don't have to check that because it won't. That won't be right. I know this is out of the mix. So I have my answer. Okay, so I can enter that in here, 2x minus 3 times 3x minus 2. And you'll notice 3x minus 2 times 2x minus 3, that's what I have on the board as well. So we got the right answer. We know we got the right answer. Now I want to talk to you about solving that same problem by grouping. Okay, so here are the steps when you're going to solve it in another way, solving by grouping, factoring by grouping. So we start with what we were given. The first thing we do is we look at the constant term and the leading coefficient, and we multiply those two numbers. 6 times 6, that gives us 36. And we say to ourselves, we're going to split this negative 13x's into two pieces. We're going to add two amounts of x's, and it's going to give us negative 13x. Okay? So those numbers, a and b, have to add up to negative 13. Some number of x's plus some number of x's has to equal negative 13x. So I've expressed that here. And also, the product of those two numbers has to equal the product of these two numbers. Now, I haven't told you why, but it's true. And this is one of those cases in mathematics where showing that it's true is actually a lot easier if we work in reverse. But for right now, we're just taking the steps to go from what we were given to a solution using the method of factoring by grouping. Okay, so we have these two unknown constants at the moment. Their product is 36, and their sum is negative 13. So my options for making 36 with the product are 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, or 6 times 6. So I've got 5 possible products to give myself negative 36. And also, notice when I add, I have to get a negative, so actually all of these numbers have to be negative. Negative times a negative is positive, negative times negative is positive, and so on. So like that. Now, when I add those two numbers, it has to equal negative 13. Well, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. This one is. Right? Negative 4 plus negative 9 equals negative 13. So I know from that my A and my B are negative 9 and negative 4. And I can now substitute those two numbers into this equation. So I get 6x squared minus 9x minus 4x plus 6. Okay, that's equal to this, right? Negative 9x minus 4x is negative 13x. And I look at that, and I group this, and I group this, and I factor out the greatest common factor from each of them. So if I take 3x out of that term, 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. And then I look at this and I have negative 4x plus 6. Well, that's negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, so we factored out 3x and we factored out negative 2. And now that I have it written this way, you see that this binomial is a factor of both of these expressions, this one and this one. So I can use the distributive property to factor that out. I get 3x minus 2 here times that factor, right? This times 3x is here. And this binomial, which is this binomial, times -2 times -2, okay? So that's how factoring by grouping works